Man apprehended with a painted face. Woman gets arrested but blames injuries on rough sex. Wildwood clearing the way to upgrade the sewage treatment plant. Villager was arrested in 2019 in a sex sting back behind bars. Problem home in the Villages declared unsafe. Vicki Lawrence to perform in the Villages. Renter describes nightmare conditions at a home in the Villages. The Spring Craft Show is coming soon. Drunk driving suspect wearing only boxer briefs arrested. This and more coming up. A man with a painted face was apprehended after he was spotted peering into windows of vehicles parked at a local hotel. Joseph Brock Little, 32, who is homeless, was spotted at about 1 a.m. Saturday walking through the parking lot of the Micro Hotel and Suites on U.S. Highway 27 and 441, according to the arrest report. He was walking between numerous vehicles, stopping and looking inside each one of them. The officer approached Little and noticed that his face was painted black along with his neck, arms, and legs. The officer suspected it was an apparent attempt to conceal his identity as well as to make him less visible in the nighttime hours. When the officer asked Little about the painted face, Little claimed, "I was playing with kids." At 1 a.m. Little has a long list of arrests, including an instance this past summer when he was caught with a stolen shopping cart. Little was arrested on a charge of prowling. He was booked at Lake County Jail on a $500 bond. An intoxicated woman accused of biting her man friend on the chest blamed their marital injuries on rough sex. Brandy Allison Saylor, 42 of Oxford, had been at a bar with her man friend on Friday when her ex showed up, according to the arrest report. Saylor said her man friend got jealous. Saylor and her man friend left together, but she apparently became enraged and punched him on the left side of his face and bit him on the chest. She contacted her ex on the phone and told him he was going to need to come over. Saylor pulled a Silver Slide 9mm Taurus PT-111 handgun, pointed at her man friend's head, and threatened to kill him. He was able to call 911 and was in fear of his life. Are you kidding me? I have nothing to say. You guys are probably saying it to yourself anyway. A villager in a BMW was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence. John Mark DeStefano, 72, had been driving erratically when he was pulled over shortly before 11 p.m. Saturday in a parking lot of the TA Travel Center on State Road 44. That used to be TA Truck Stop, and then they changed everything to Travel Centers. And everything's went to hell in a handbasket ever since. When a Suffolk County Sheriff's deputy approached a New Jersey native's white BMW, the strong odor of burnt marijuana was detected. DeStefano could not maintain his balance, and he could not clear a full sentence. Marijuana was found in the BMW. DeStefano had a medical marijuana card, which had expired in November. A snowbird renter from Pennsylvania was arrested on a drunk driving charge after getting lost in his golf cart. Was you Googling it? Michael John Sambita, 52, of Fairview, Pennsylvania, was in a white 2022 E-Z-GO golf cart at 9:15 p.m. Sunday when he was spotted driving without headlights in a parking lot at Shooter's World at Brownwood, according to a arrest report. Sambita admitted he drank 7 beers over 7 hours while watching the NFL playoffs. He said he had recently arrived in the Villages and was trying to find the place he was renting when he got lost in the golf cart. And I do believe that. That's easily done if you're not from here. Trace out your path before it gets dark. You'll get lost. He agreed to take part in field sobriety exercises but performed poorly. He provided breath samples that measured .130 and .132 blood alcohol content. He was arrested on charges of driving under the influence, booked to Suffolk County Detention Center. He was also issued a traffic warning for driving without headlights. Even if you're in a golf cart, you have to turn them headlights on. It's just a state law. Wildwood officials are clearing the way to upgrade the city's 40-year-old sewage treatment plant and build a new plant next to it. Home building in the villages and Southern Oaks and apartment construction throughout the city are pushing the city toward the treatment plant's 2.8 million gallon capacity limit. 2 weeks ago, City Manager Jason McHugh said Wildwood had slowed down processing of residential development applications until plans are advanced for an expansion project. The slowdown does not affect 7,000 units already approved or in process. Seeking state money for the project, commissioners Monday night authorized McHugh to submit a $4 million legislative appropriation request, working with State Representative John Temple, Republican 52, and State Senate Blaise Ngolia. Things like this we all expected with all this building going on, and I expect a lot more. A resident of the Villages who was busted in 2019 in a sex sting has landed back behind bars. Brian George Blakely, 32, who lives at 3189 Mansfield Street in the village of Polo Ridge, was driving a brown GMC SUV at 8:21 a.m. Friday on US 301 when an officer noticed the vehicle's headlights were not illuminated in the foggy weather. Why, I don't understand people. They're so used to automatic lights coming on and stuff. It's raining hard outside. You see them all the time. No headlights at halfway at dark. Their headlights ain't on. Blakely presented the officer with a Florida identification card, and a computer check revealed his Minnesota driver's license had been suspended. He was arrested on a charge of driving while license suspended and booked without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center, as he is already on probation. Blakely was arrested in 2019 when the Colorado Springs, Colorado Police Department conducted an undercover operation into an online luring and exploitation of minors. Blakely was arrested on suspicion of internet luring of a child class 4 felony and attempted sexual assault on a child of class 5 felony. He was convicted in the case in 2020. Nice, upstanding young man, 32 years old, moved into a retirement community. This is the kind of people we want to move in here. A visitor from Maine was arrested after an altercation in a golf cart near Colony Cottage Recreation Center. Maya Gray, 24, of Cornville, Maine, had been traveling in a golf cart at about 9 p.m. Sunday with a male companion in the vicinity of Morris Boulevard and Colony Boulevard when they got into a verbal argument that escalated into a physical altercation. The man said that Gray got upset and started yelling at him in his ear. He and Gray got into an altercation that left him with bloody scratches on his neck and redness to his upper chest area. He also suffered a scratch on his left outer arm beneath the elbow. Gray was arrested on a charge of battery and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. She was released after posting a $500 bond. A woman is back behind bars after failing to show up in court to answer to a charge of dining and dashing at a restaurant in the Villages. Tyra Lee Clutter, 43, of Ocala, was being held without bond at the Lake County Jail following her arrest Sunday on a warrant charging her with failure to appear. A judge issued the warrant after Clutter skipped a court date in connection with her arrest last year after refusing to pay for a meal at the restaurant. Clutter went to Perkins Restaurant on Bechara Boulevard in the Villages on September 1 and consumed $29.27 in food and drink, according to the affidavit of probable cause from the Lady Lake Police Department. When she walked out without paying, restaurant workers tried to hand her a bill. She said, "I don't need that." Clutter strolled out of the restaurant, into the parking lot, and got into her white Honda four-door sedan. The manager of the restaurant shot a photo of her license plate and turned it over to the police. When the license plate was tracked to Clutter, a police officer showed Clutter's driver's license photo to the restaurant manager, who confirmed it was Clutter who had walked out without paying for the meal. People are so stupid. God, cameras are everywhere. What's the matter with you? An unlucky driver with a flat tire was arrested with drugs at Spanish Springs. Tyla Christine Williams, 20, of Altoona, was found just before midnight Saturday when a police officer found her vehicle with a flat tire at the intersection of Avienda Central and Alvarez Avenue. The officer quickly discovered that Williams' vehicle with North Carolina plates had been involved in an accident. A canine officer arrived on the scene and a clear bag was discovered in the center console. It contained 14.5 grams of a substance that tested positive for synthetic cannabinoids and Alpha-timines, I have no idea what that is. She was arrested on a third-degree felony charge of possession of a controlled substance. She was also ticketed on charges of careless driving. And an expired registration. She was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $2,000 bond. A problem home in the Villages has been declared unsafe to occupy. The home on the historic side of the Villages was before a special magistrate Tuesday morning at Lady Lake Town Hall due to a number of code violations. The owner of 923 St. Andrews Boulevard is deceased, and ownership is listed as the Hazel L. Cabetta Estate. Her son, Paul Cabetta, has a long criminal history. It isn't completely clear whether he or anyone else is living there at the moment. A neighbor had been mowing the lawn in a defense effort to keep the rats from the Cabetta home from invading the surrounding homes. There is junk strewn about the property. The home has elicited numerous complaints from neighbors. Special Magistrate Joshua Bills ruled that the code enforcement violations must be corrected by February 15th, or $50 daily fines will be imposed. The property was before the Villages Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors in December due to a fallen tree in the yard. The tree is still there. The home has elicited numerous complaints from neighbors. It's amazing how the Villages has no power to enforce any of the rules. Vicki Lawrence once had an identity crisis with the character Mama until Harvey Korman set her straight on a comedic journey of self-discovery. Harvey told me, "You are Mama. She is you, and you are the character that lives in your gut," Lawrence said this week in a telephone interview. She brings Vicki Lawrence and Mama, a two-woman show, to the Sharon on February 4th at 7 p.m. The first half of the show is Vicki Lawrence as herself, and the second half is all Mama. Lawrence, 73 now, was in her 20s when she started playing Thelma, Mama, Harper on the Carol Burnett Show nearly 5 decades ago. "I'm still playing Mama. We've grown old together," she quipped. After Carol Burnett show ended, Lawrence kept the character going in the series Mama's Family from 1983 to 1990. Then when she needed some help from her mentor, the late Harvey Korman, who had been a regular on the Carol Burnett Show, "I wanted Harvey to direct some episodes of Mama's Family," Lawrence said. "I was having trouble with Mama as a comedic character. On Carol's show, Mama was always nasty, screaming and screeching. She wasn't very nice, and it wasn't working out as a sitcom week after week." Korman came to the rescue and some sage advice. What was missing was the funny side of Mama, and that came from Lawrence's inner spirit.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear mother. When's this song gonna be on? Happy birthday to you. And many more. Come on, Mama, blow out the candle and make a wish. Blow out the candle and make a wish. Well, I hope this cake isn't too rich, or I'm not gonna be able to eat any on top of them greasy dumplings.
Mama, this is one time in your life you can jump
I
into
remember.
something joyously and impulsively, so why don't you just blow out the damn candle?
A renter told a special magistrate Tuesday about nightmare conditions at her home in the Villages. Carol Ward, who lives in a rented manufactured home at 2016 Aloha Way on the historic side of the Villages, detailed her concern about rats, water damage, and mold at the home where she has lived for the past 5 years. You're renting it. Move. A code enforcement officer has documented many more problems, including fire hazards due to issues with electrical wiring. In addition, the windows have been nailed shut from the outside, and the roof is leaking. Sorry. Just that was me. I would report the guy. I would, because that's just terrible to do that. A landlord shouldn't be doing that, especially in a retirement community. But I just move. Property is owned by Daniel O'Neill, who had an address in the Villages, but more recently has been residing in Summerfield. The Code Enforcement Department in the town of Lady Lake has sent him multiple certified notices about the problems, but the bulk of those notices have not been picked up by O'Neill. The problems at the home have gotten so bad, the renter has retreated to a single bedroom. "I am living in one bedroom. It's a 3-bedroom house. He is still getting the rent. Don't give it to him. Move." Ward told Special Magistrate Joshua Bills in a hearing at Lady Lake Town Hall. She showed Bills numerous photographs in deplorable conditions at the home. She also alleged her landlord is playing games. Ward said his games have included a special holiday gift. My Christmas present was a phony eviction notice posted on my door. The town's code enforcement officer had sought $100 daily fines against O'Neill if the property is not brought into compliance. However, Special Magistrate determined that the problems are severe enough to warrant $150 daily fines. The fines will begin February 1 if the violations are not corrected. The town's code enforcement officer indicated O'Neill has another problematic rental property, and it could be the subject of a hearing next month before the special magistrate. O'Neill sounds like a real winner. Listen, people out there, if you want to rent something and it's on the historic side, find out if the owner's O'Neill. If the last name's O'Neill, just go somewhere else. A drunk driver suspect wearing only boxer briefs was arrested near the Villages. Dustin Michael Williams, 25, was driving a 2004 blue Dodge Neon with a non-functioning driver's side headlight at 11:10 p.m. Wednesday when he was pulled over on County Road 25 at Tracy Avenue on the backside of the Villages of Silver Lake. Williams was only wearing boxer briefs, which appeared to be soiled with urine, according to the arrest report. The Florida Navy admitted he had consumed 7 shots and 4 beers that night. Just take me to jail, he says. I'm drunk. Yeah. I'm sure you are. Can you imagine the police officer on this? What it takes to bite your tongue to keep from laughing. He struggled through field sobriety exercises and provided breath samples that registered 0.203 and 1.71 blood alcohol content. It should be noted that during the breath test, the defendant would stop breathing into the instrument and would attempt to inhale from the mouthpiece. He was arrested and charged with driving under the influence and booked at the Lake County Jail. Bond was set at $1,000. Affordable workforce housing is key to the growth in the state as well as the Villages. The state legislature is focusing on ways to develop more workforce housing to keep pace with the Sunshine State's explosive growth. Florida's ability to attract and retain the talent necessary to grow from the 16th to the 10th largest global economy relies on the availability and affordability and attainability of housing. Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Mark Wilson said. He said the state is welcoming 1,000 new residents a day. A wide variety of options are being considered by elected leaders around the state, from tax credits to converting vacant shopping centers into affordable housing. I do know that there are land investment people down here, quite a few of them, that's what they're looking for. Old apartment buildings that's been abandoned or at least for sale, cheap, and they're going in, especially if it's multi-room and they have like a bathroom and you have like a little kitchenette area there and stuff. They're turning them over into apartments. Marion County Sheriff's Office property crimes detectives are seeking help from the public to identify the 2 suspects. Deputies responded January 10 to a home on Southeast 176 Loop in Stonecrest in Summerfield to a report of a stolen golf cart. The victim advised that his blue and gray 2013 E-Z-GO golf cart had been stolen from his driveway. In addition to this theft, detectives are investigating several other golf cart thefts in a nearby area in the Villages. If you have any information about the men, call 352-732-9111, or you can make an anonymous tips to Crime Stoppers of Marion County at 352-368-STOP. That's 352-368-7867. Applications are available for the Spring Craft Show in the Villages. Yes, we're in the first week of February. Well, by the time you see this, we'll be in the second week of February, and spring has sprung down here. Our spring is early. Yours will start up north, late March, early April, give or take. Down here, the flowers are blooming. The crane chicks are hatching. The craft show will be held from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday, March 11th at Laurel Manor Recreation Center, Seabreeze Recreation Center, and Rohan Recreation Center. Because of the overwhelming amount of talent crafters in the Villages, space is limited and will be assigned using a lottery system. One application per person or per household. Unassigned spaces will be removed the morning of the show. There will be 100 tables per venue. Electric access is limited, no guarantees. You can download the application here. I'll try to put that on the video for you. Five veterans were honored with quilts of valor on Tuesday at the Eisenhower Recreation Center in the Villages. The Quacky Quilters, a chapter of the Quilting Guide of the Villages, assembled the quilts and awarded them to the veterans. The quilts are made as a thank you for their service and sacrifice to the nation. Villager Sheila Robbins coordinated the presentation and personalization of the labels and certificates for each veteran. As a member of the Quickie Quilters and the Quilt of Valor Foundation, she has arranged the presentation of over 100 quilts since 2015. Good job, ladies. Congratulations, guys. A New York snowbird in a golf cart was arrested on a drunk driving charge after leaving Brownwood. Timothy Charles Fenley, 76, of Aquabach, New York, was at the wheel of a black E-Z-GO golf cart shortly before 4 p.m. Tuesday, traveling on Warm Springs Avenue near the Everglades Recreation Center. Golf carts are not allowed on that roadway. His golf cart had backed up the right lane of traffic. Fenley, who was identified by his New York driver's license, appeared intoxicated and stumbled out of the golf cart. During the traffic stop, Fenley handed the deputy documents that indicated he is a retired New York police officer. It don't work down here. Fenley said he had been at Brownwood and must have made the wrong turn. You think? During field sobriety exercises, a deputy observed multiple indicators of impairment. Fenley provided breath samples that registered .111 and .101 blood alcohol content. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. Don't drink and drive, people. Don't, even in a golf cart. These are not toys. These are motorized vehicles down here, and that's how they look at it. You have to observe the laws like everywhere else, and you have to keep the golf cart. If you have a regular golf cart, has to be where golf carts are allowed to go, and you need to educate yourself. If you have a street legal, it's different. But know what a street legal is and know what a street legal requires. You need to know these things. You can call any police department, and I'm sure they'll be more than glad to give you the guidelines on everything. You can probably go to any of the golf cart stores, and they'll be glad to let you know what the rules are and where they go. And just because you get a street legal, don't think you can drive them on any street. A driver charged with fleeing the scene of a crash which injured a mother and her daughter on Cherry Lake Road has entered a plea in the case. Salvador Acosta Hernandez, 46, of Leesburg, entered a plea of not guilty this past week in Lake County Court to a federal charge of hit and run. He remains free on $1,000 bonds. There seems to be a rash of hit and runs. The crash occurred at 5:20 p.m., January 12th, on Cherry Lake Road near Keystone Lane and caused traumatic injuries to 54-year-old Lisa Oliver of Howey in the Hills. That's actually the name of a town. I've been there to a country club and had a Christmas dinner there once. Very nice. Oliver and her daughter, who had been a passenger in Oliver's tan Ford F-150, were both transported by Lake EMS to Ocala Regional Medical Center. Their vehicle had been struck by a white Ford F-150 that had been traveling in the opposite direction and failed to maintain its lane. Both vehicles were towed from the scene, and the investigators into the accident tied up traffic for several hours that night on Cherry Lake Road, which runs behind the village of Caroline and the village of Mallory Square. A villager has entered a plea in a drunk driving case after he was caught driving in the wrong direction on U.S. Highway 27 and 441. Brian Archer Davis, 72, the village of Dunedin, pleaded not guilty this past week to a charge of driving under the influence. He remains free on a $1,000 bond. He was a drunk driving suspect who admitted he was on his phone prior to crashing in a roundabout in the Villages has lost his driver's license. Mason Edward Shuford, 34, of Summerfield, pleaded no contest this past week in Sumter County Court to charges of driving under the influence, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug equipment. In addition to losing his driver's license for 6 months, he has been placed on probation for 1 year and has been ordered to perform 50 hours of community service. A woman has been sentenced in connection with a false police report involving a shopping cart at Lowe's Home Improvement. Tina Marie Nelson, 55, of Lady Lake, on November 23rd, summoned Wildwood police to a Walmart at Sarasota Plaza in the Villages. She claimed she had loaded merchandise into the trunk of her vehicle when a vehicle with Tennessee license plate struck her shopping cart at Lowe's Home Improvement Store at Trailwinds Village on County Road 466A in Wildwood. She said she was pinned between her vehicle and the shopping cart. Nelson claimed the vehicle fled the parking lot. She drove to Walmart and called the local enforcement. Cameras at Lowe's parking lot showed that the car never touched her, never hit her cart, never did anything. So she was arrested for making a false police report. An 85-year-old villager arrested earlier this month has returned home after the eviction of an unwanted female companion. Charles Edward Riggs was arrested January 3rd after an alleged altercation at the Tanglewood Villas in the village of Sable Chase. When Sumter County Sheriff's deputy spoke to Riggs, it was apparent he had been drinking. He admitted he'd consumed 3 beers. Riggs also said that there was a little bit of shoving going on, but nothing else. The woman who reported the incident said she had left the home and did not want any further conflict because she was already on probation. She said Riggs had been bothering her and threatened to call her probation officer. She said he hit her on the left cheek, tried to grab her arm, and pushed her. Deputies observed a bruising on the woman's cheekbone. The woman was 38-year-old Jessica Lynn Haggard. Can't blame the old duffer for trying. Has a long criminal history. She was arrested on fraud charges in 2020. She was arrested in 2019 after she was caught dumpster diving in the Villages. And you know how to pick them, dude. You know how to pick them. A villager is buying out of community service in a plea deal in a voter fraud case dating back to 2020 presidential election. John Ryder, 62, a resident of the village of Virginia Trace. Virginia Trace is a very nice neighborhood and a very good location. He cast his ballot in person during early voting October 28, 2020 in Sumter County. He also cast an absentee ballot in New York. At the time, he was registered as a voter with no party affiliation in Sumter County. He was arrested in 2021 on a felony charge of casting more than one ballot in the election. A 58-year-old resident of the Villages has indicated his drug addiction has fueled multiple shoplifting arrests at Walmart. James Wallace of the village of Rio Ponderosa is due to face a judge Monday morning in Sumter County in a probation violation hearing. He was being held this weekend without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center after his transport back here from the Pinellas County Jail. Wallace had been arrested last year in the theft of items from Walmart in Buffalo Ridge Plaza. He had convinced a woman to give him a ride to the store. She waited in the car and then Wallace returned. He encouraged her to drive away quickly. The woman, who was unaware he had stolen items from Walmart, drove a short distance before she ordered him out of the car. She cooperated with Sumter County Sheriff's deputies who were investigating the theft at Walmart. A villager will lose his driver's license after climbing into a golf cart after leaving the Lighthouse Point Bar and Grill at Lake Sumter Landing. Anthony James Foist, 49, of the village of Sunset Point, pleaded no contest last week in Sumter County Court to a charge of driving under the influence. In addition to losing his license for 6 months, he was placed on probation for 12 months in order to perform 50 hours of community service. He was driving a blue golf cart at about 10:30 p.m. October 8th when he was spotted in a roundabout on Morris Boulevard between County Road 466 and Lake Sumter Landing Bridge. Golf carts are not allowed on Morris Boulevard. I've told people time and time again, if you don't have a street legal, if you find yourself in a roundabout on Morris Boulevard or Buena Vista, you are in the wrong place. And if it's at night, this is why I say, make sure you know where you're going when it gets dark, because nothing's lit up and you're going to get lost. He was driving a blue golf cart about 10:30 p.m. October 8th when he was spotted in a roundabout on Morris Boulevard between County Road 466 and Lake Sumter Landing Bridge. Golf carts are not permitted in that roundabout or on that roadway. Faust said he was lost. and trying to navigate using Google Maps. You also cannot use Google Maps in your golf cart unless you really know what you're doing. I don't advise it at all. He said he had been at the Lighthouse Point Bar and Grill. He also said he was trying to find a girl's house to meet up with. Deputy detected the odor of alcoholic beverage coming from Faust, who had bloodshot eyes. Faust claimed he was completely sober. He took part in the field sobriety exercises but showed multiple indicators of impairment. A large Polar Pop beverage cup was in the golf cart. The Polar Pop cup had a 12-ounce can of Bud Light tucked inside. The can was 3/4 empty and still cold to the touch. Faust refused to provide breath samples. A criminal history check revealed he had been convicted of driving under the influence in 2012 in Indiana. You'd think they'd learned, wouldn't you? A villager is seeking an order of protection against her husband who tried to kill her. George Albert Hatchie, 72, alleged stabbed his wife 12 times on the morning of September 28th at their home in the village of Della Vista North. He has pleaded not guilty to a charge of attempted first-degree murder. He continues to be held without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center. In December, a judge denied a motion seeking $50,000 bond for Hatchie, who promised to wear an ankle monitor and stay out of the villages. Well, after trying to stab your wife 12 times, why would we not take your word for it? This month, Hatchie's estranged wife filed an order of protection, presumably in anticipation of the fact that Hatchie could win release at some point. I agree with her. Without hesitation, I would give her protection and still give her a warning. Protection doesn't stop anybody from breaking the law. Damaris Lorenzen of the village of Collier got her third hole-in-one on January 22nd at the Mangrove Executive Golf Course. She got a hole-in-one on July 2 at Bonifay and got her first hole-in-one in Iowa. You know, life just ain't fair sometimes, is it? But congratulations, Damaris. I think I'm saying your name right, Damaris. It's great. She started playing golf in her 70s. Cool. That's very cool. A son was arrested after apparently kicking in the door at his mother's foreclosed home in the Villages. George Scott Richard, 54, was arrested at about 1 p.m. Thursday at the home at 1225 Jaffa Court in the village of Gilcrest. A Sumter County Sheriff's deputy had been summoned to investigate a burglary in progress and arrived to find the Illinois native in the garage loading belongings into a U-Haul box truck. There was damage to the door frame, consistent with someone kicking in the door. It was noted in the report that Richard is a former resident of the home, purchased by his mother, Marianne Nogay, in 2020 for $560,000. Citizens First Bank foreclosed on the home, which was sold in foreclosure on January 12th. Richard was found to be in possession of marijuana and a one-hit device. I don't know what that is, one-hit device. You guys will have to make comments below and let me know what that means, one-hit device. The bank estimated the damage to the door at between $200 and $1,000. Richard was arrested on charges of criminal mischief, possession of marijuana, possession of drug equipment. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $3,000 bond. Well, I think that's going to be the news this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy some of the new things that we add to these videos every now and then. So as always, I'll just say, beware where you're at. Don't lose your guard.
Don't leave your keys in the golf cart.